Well, well, well. How are you? Good evening. Good evening. So, this is not my usual time to go live, but I am grateful that I can still go live. I was away all day today. Actually, I was at an amazing conference for educators of color, and my business partner and I, Dr. Erica, were actually presenting on our nurturing greatness system. I shared a little bit about that system, maybe like a few days ago, I think. And so we were there all day. It was an amazing experience. Had a chance to talk to our lieutenant governor of our state, and some other prominent individuals in business and education. And so that's really exciting. We had just a really great day. And so I'm grateful to be able to be on here. I know it's 6 o'clock and it's not 12 noon, but I'm grateful for all of you who are going to tune in and who are going to watch and even engage with me. And I invite you to engage with me. So, officially, good evening and welcome. Thank you for taking time out of your evening. Usually I say thank you for taking your time out of the day, but thank you for taking time out of your evening to tune in to Dr. Tonya Live. So before we dive in, we are going to ground ourselves in a word of scripture. This is a scripture that I have been reading since I've started going live. And it comes from Ephesians, the second chapter, and the 10th verse. And it says, "For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things He planned for us long ago." So that is so exciting when I think about that scripture. First of all, it just affirms me. It affirms that I was created in such an unique and special way, that I am wonderfully made, that everything about me was intentional when God created me. The same thing for you. He was intentional about creating you, He was intentional about all the gifts and the talents that He put inside of you. And because you are made in His image, you bear His image, you are special and unique, and there is nothing that anyone can say or do about that. And the other piece that's like such good news is that God has plans for you, and He had plans for you when He created you. And so those plans are good plans. And so we can rest assured that whatever happens in our lives, we know that God already knows the end before the beginning, and that He has good plans for you. Isn't that good news? So let's get into this. So, and it doesn't matter whether or not you're building a business or whether or not you have a dream that won't let you go. Just know that God has plans for you, and that those plans are plans that He had long ago. And so I want you to walk away understanding that your identity, that God gave you your identity. That identity is special and unique, and that He has plans for you, and those plans are for you to prosper. So I do have a favor to ask of you. I will ask, can you please share with your network? Can you like this? And can you follow if you are not already following me? And subscribe. So whatever social media platform you're on, I'm asking if you would just like, follow, and share, and subscribe. Sorry, I forgot that last part. So thank you so much for joining me. Today is actually day 9 of my 90-day challenge. Every single day, I am showing up live. Today is the first time I'm doing it in the evening, but I'm showing up live to encourage women and men, because there are men that have tuned in, who are ready to start a business, who have already started a business, but they need support getting it off the ground, and or people or women who are looking to build and grow what they've already started. So this is for you. If you have a dream and a business that you know you're supposed to be doing something about, and I want to encourage you to do that. For those of you who are new, I am Dr. Tonya, and this is Dr. Tonya Live, real talk for women building their businesses. So today, our topic is showing up before you feel qualified. That is what our topic is going to be. So usually I say grab your lunch. I'm going to say grab your dinner, get comfortable and let's get into this topic for today. So, when I was thinking about this topic, I couldn't help but think about today, and what I did today, because today we were at, this conference. As I mentioned earlier, the lieutenant governor actually was speaking at this conference. And I actually know him from work that I did years ago for a school that he was over. And so they were technically a client of our company. And, he hired our company to provide some services at an organization that he was over. And so I hadn't seen him in years. And I actually debated on whether I felt qualified enough to go up to him given the status. Now, mind you, I know who he is. I've worked with him. I spent time meeting with him. It's just been a long time. And, at the time that I worked with him, I was really new to business. And the role that he had you know, was not as visible as the role that he has now. And so, I'm like, is he touchable still? He absolutely is. He's very approachable. It was not challenging. I just had to, inside myself, I had to kind of fight some thoughts. And those thoughts were like, is he gonna think that you're like, a groupie, or is he gonna look at you differently because I don't know. I just it is all a problem, all a problem. But ultimately, I did something that I want to advise and recommend to everybody else. I basically said, listen, I I know who this guy is. He knows who I am. Yes, I look a little bit different. This was probably 10 or more years ago when we did some work together. And so I'm like, let me go up to him. Let me say hello. Let me, if I need to, reintroduce myself. And, so I basically, I'm like, he's like, hey, so what are you up to these days? And so he remembered me, of course. Not of course, I cannot assume that. But he remembered me. I said, I'm doing, I have a, still working my educational consulting firm. And he's like, oh, you're still doing that. And then, the conversation went on from there. But what was really interesting, and this is what I really want you to think about, is I had to let my confidence lead. And so sometimes when we look at this topic of showing up before we feel qualified, that can happen a lot in business, depending on who you're in front of. And so while this wasn't me going to make a pitch so much as it was me reconnecting, and seeing if he remembered me or whatever, I had to let my confidence lead. And by that I mean I had to show up, get like basically hide whatever potential nerves I might have had because of the role that he currently holds. And I essentially had to go up there. It's almost like I didn't have to really fake it so much, but I had to allow confidence to follow the action that I was taking. So confidence follows action, which basically means that you do the thing that you're nervous about doing. And notwithstanding that you might be nervous, you do it anyway, and that confidence ends up following you. So after I had the conversation, it was almost like, girl, why were you tripping? Like, why were you even nervous? Why were you even concerned that you weren't going to be able to get an audience and be able to speak to him, and that you were, like, why'd you have all those concerns that he wasn't gonna, like, be approachable or whatever? That was just me in my head, and that happens to us a lot. And I think women may fight that more than men. I don't know. I'm not a man, so I can't really say, but it just seems like this is something I talk to women about more than not, where we often are fighting imposter syndrome and feeling like we might not be competent enough to do certain things. And so this topic of showing up before you feel qualified, it hits close to home. I totally can relate to it. I understand when, people say to me that it's hard to like do certain things, but I would say to you, and today is my own living example of when you lead with confidence, meaning you do the action, the confidence actually follows Just do what it is that you know you need to do. So I knew I needed to go and speak to him. I can't be in the same room with somebody that I know and not speak to them. I knew him and I've known him for years. I haven't been in touch with him for years, but I've known him. So it's like, hey, just go up there, say hello, and let it go from there. And then when it was over, I felt so confident. I felt like, okay, who else can I talk to? Let's bring on Barack and Michelle Obama. I could talk to both of them. I'm confident at this point, and I felt confident. I felt like I could talk to anybody. And, so I say that to you to encourage you that you can lead with your action, and then that confidence comes right behind there. But it's really you acting in confidence. So that action is you acting in confidence before you actually feel confident. But the confident follows. Confidence follows. And that's the power of action. That is the power of moving forward and doing something that you might be afraid of. So here's the thing. There are some of you who are on here who are trying to get a business off the ground, or who are interested in getting a business off the ground, or you've started it, but you really haven't done much with it, or it's in you and something has been holding you back and you don't have the confidence to do it. You don't necessarily feel qualified because maybe you've never owned a business before, or maybe you've never succeeded in business before. And so you feel unqualified to do certain things. So these are some scenarios that you may encounter. So you may encounter a scenario where you have a business idea and you would like to go to the bank to present this idea and request a loan, right? And so you might feel unqualified to go to that banker and have this conversation, because you may feel like they're going to judge you, or maybe you don't have good enough credit, or maybe you feel like your your business idea might not be strong enough, or maybe it's not presenting strong enough. But I would say to you, do it anyway. Have the meeting, sit down and present it. If nothing else, even when people tell you no, even when they give you a no, that's data. That is information that you can actually use to help you in the next scenario, in the next situation. So maybe you go and you present to that banker, and that banker says, "No, you don't have the whatevers." That's okay. It then means that you can go back and fill in wherever you're lacking. But what if you go in and sit down with that banker feeling unqualified? Because it's just a feeling. Just because you feel unqualified doesn't make you unqualified. It does not make it true just because it's a feeling that you have. We have lots of feelings, but our feelings can lie to us from time to time. Our feelings can make us think something that is not the case. And so you may find that you may not feel qualified to go before this banker, and I'm not saying just show up and have a conversation with a banker. I'm saying go in there prepared. Prepare yourself. Do your homework. What is it that they want you to bring? What do they need to know? Do your homework, do your due diligence, and go in there with confidence, whether you feel confident or not. Because what's going to happen is on the other side, they're going to be looking at how you present. So if you come in there and you're like, "Well, I've got this business idea. I'm not really sure if I can get money for it. I don't know. I mean, I've never done it before and I don't really know a lot of people and I don't know if I can get, I mean, if you go in there acting like you're unqualified, the banker is going to pretty much make up his or her mind just watching your body language and the tone and the manner in which you present yourself. But if you go in there and say, "I have this business idea, I've been working on this for blah, 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 blah. I've done my research. I have done a market analysis, and I know that there is a need in this community for the services and the products that I'm offering. I know it's going to cost this much to get the business off the ground. I'm going to need this to cover my overhead, but these are the profits that I'm going to get." And you come in there knowing and spewing what it is that they need to hear. It is more likely, if your credit is good, it is more likely that that banker is going to say, "Yep, you know what? Let's get this going. Let's get this application going. Let's get you moving. Let's move this through. I feel very confident." And that banker is going to back you, when it comes time to put your application in and what have you. I feel very strongly that this individual, and all because you walked in there with confidence and you didn't walk in there showing up like you were feeling unqualified. Again, I want to repeat, just because you feel unqualified doesn't make you unqualified. That is not necessarily true. And so um, there may be another scenario. So maybe the scenario is that you are going to be meeting with a potential client or customer for the first time, and you are feeling unqualified because your business is brand spanking new. And this is the first client that you're trying to land, right? And so you could go and you could speak to that client and you can take the position of being unqualified, and you can come across as unqualified, and you can come in and say, well, I want to tell you about my product or my service that I offer. And well, I mean, I've never done it before, but I've got the degree, and my job, I kind of did it before. I mean, it's not like the same. I mean, you can go in there and you can hem and you can haw or whatever, and you can show how unqualified you are, or you can prepare yourself with a pitch that allows you to come across as confident, even if you don't feel qualified. So then you can stand before that individual who you're looking to pitch your business idea to and get your new customer or your new client, and you can come in there with confidence and you can say, this is the product or the service that I'm offering. You can even ask them questions about what they need, and you can show them how your business or your product or your service is going to meet their needs. It's going to solve their problems. It's going to make sure that they have what they need, because you have the product and or the service to be able to do that. So you walk in there with a level of confidence, not acting the way you feel, but acting the way you want to come across. Sometimes you might feel unqualified and not realize how qualified you really are. Sometimes it takes you asking the people that know you best. You've heard of the I think it's the 360 feedback or something like that, where people will give you feedback about yourself, and you can ask various questions and ask people to give you feedback. But ultimately, the idea is that other folks can let you know how you come across. So you can practice your pitch, you can practice, how you want to come across, and you can get feedback from others. You can also let folks tell you what they know about you. So a lot of times we don't know how we come across, but other people do. So other people experience us from the outside. Inside, we might be a ball of nerves, but other people may see us as being completely confident. That's what you want to walk into these meetings, showing and demonstrating. You have to show up whether you feel like you're qualified or not. Here's another potential scenario. You may be asked to present your idea to a room full of potential investors, your business idea. And you've never done this. This is the first time you have ever stood before an audience of potential investors, and you're not really sure if you can do this successfully. And so you're sitting there, stomach is in knots, all the feelings are, overwhelming you. You're feeling overwhelmed with imposter syndrome or whatever it is that you might be feeling. And you absolutely might feel like you're unqualified. But because they have put you on the agenda, you have a right to walk in there with all of the confidence in the world, even if you have to borrow that confidence. And there are things that you can do. So there are things you can do to settle your nerves. Things like breath exercises where you can breathe in for 4 seconds, 4 counts, hold that breath for 4 counts, breathe out for 4 counts. It actually can, you do that 4 times, and it can actually re-regulate your brain. I learned that from my partner, Dr. Erica. But then I learned it after she taught me. Somebody else had shared it with me as well. But it is a way that you can calm your nerves, and it can help you to be able to stand before an audience of people and do the thing that you don't expect to do. Here's something else you can do. You can visualize yourself successfully pitching your business to this audience of potential um, investors. And so think about what it would be like for you to walk out onto the stage or to set yourself up around the conference table, or, you know, maybe it's not a stage, maybe it's not a conference table, maybe it's just a room and it's your opportunity. So you can actually completely visualize and play out the whole thing in your mind. You can practice it. So years ago, I used to sell Mary Kay Cosmetics. I guess it's okay. I'm not selling anything here. I guess it's okay to say it. And it was really, I shared like last week how the time that I spent as an independent sales consultant, excuse me, eventually as an executive sales director, but the time that I spent there allowed me to get past my nerves of public speaking, because I had to stand before an audience every single week to present and to teach and to train women who were interested in being independent sales consultants. And so, but one of the things that I had to train them to do, and I had to do it myself, was something that they called warm chatter, which meant you're in the grocery store, you want to share your business with them. You want to see if you can get them to, schedule a skincare class or whatever it is. And you need to be able to approach those individuals in conversation. And so one of the things I would do is I would actually practice with my family. And so, my daughter was great about being one of my potential people that I would walk up to. But what it allowed me to do was it allowed me to begin to picture what it might be like to have to, engage somebody about this business that I had, and engage a stranger, a complete stranger, and see if I can get them to, be open to me, meeting with them and sharing my products with them. And I will never forget how nervous I would be doing that. But the more I would practice it, the more I would begin to see myself talking to the people, engaging with them, um, you know, and even being able to accept that some of them may say no and no thank you, or may just completely reject me. That's part of it. But there are people in the sales game, if you will, and when you have a business, you've got to know how to sell your business. But there are people in the sales game who says, get as many no's as possible, because all of those no's are data. It tells you, it gets you closer to understanding what your client really, or your customer really wants and really needs. So the more people you approach who may not say yes to you, it's giving you information that you can use to get to your yes. And so we might not always feel qualified. And yes, you must prepare yourself. Like when I would go and meet with these women back in the day, I would prepare myself for the rejection. I would prepare myself for them to say yes. You've got to do the same thing. You've got to prepare yourself in advance. I always recommend preparation. I think that's very important because that helps you to feel more confident. And what I noticed was every single time I approached somebody new, every time I would have a new conversation, I got more comfortable. Same thing now, even going to networking events as an entrepreneur. It's not always comfortable, and I might not always feel qualified to walk up to the head of the Chamber of Commerce and have a conversation about business, given how much knowledge and experience that individual has. However, that person puts on their pants leg the same way I do. That person puts on their shirts the same way I do. They really aren't that different from me. I just have to get past my own nerves. And the truth is, when I approach them, they're not expecting me to come across as being afraid. They're expecting me to speak to them with confidence. And so I don't want to let them down. I don't want them to think, that I can't do this, because I can. You can. Even in your nervous state, you can still rise to the occasion. The more you do it, the more you find yourself rising. Here's the thing, a lot of times women will shy away from different types of environments and will feel intimidated in different types of environments. But remember, we do not have to ask for permission to show up. We don't have to ask for permission to be confident and to be authentic. We don't have to be like anybody else. We just show up and do what we need to do. So if it's you need to have a conversation, you need to start meeting people and connecting with people, you need to share your business idea with people, do it. Just do it and do it afraid if you have to, but do it because that confidence is going to follow. I notice every time I do something I'm nervous about or feel like I'm unqualified to do, once I do it, I'm like, oh, what was that all about? Why was I so nervous? Why was I such a mess? Why was I falling apart beforehand? Because I can do this. It's like there's something that clicks inside of us that lets us know that we are capable and that we are qualified and that we are not imposters. We're not, unqualified. We can do whatever it is we set our minds to doing. And sometimes you might have to, like I said, psych yourself out. But ultimately, what we're dealing with is fear. Here's something you may not realize: the science actually supports that if you show up before you feel ready, meaning you just move forward with the thing that you're most afraid of, be it the scenarios that I shared or something else altogether different, it actually scientifically, your confidence will absolutely be boosted. That has been proven by science. And so I'm not just talking out of the side of my neck here. I really want you to understand that I want you to understand that you do not ever have to hide behind those fears of not being qualified, those fears of not being accepted, those fears of imposter syndrome. That really is just you feeling like you're not worth it in some way or another. You absolutely are. You absolutely can do whatever it is that you have to do and need to do to get your business moving, to get your business growing. Because here's the thing: at some point, you'll get your business off the ground and you may have, exhausted all the people that you know who are going to buy from you. And that means that now you got to engage people who don't know you to buy from you. That takes some nerve. But if you never do it, you will never be able to get further ahead. You have to do something different. And that is you got to show up and you've got to show up and allow your confidence, to lead you. And I mean, by that, I want to go back to what I said earlier. That is the action of being confident to lead you so that the real confidence will follow. That's what you've got to do. Um, and sometimes, just I mentioned earlier, that sometimes hearing from other people how they see you and how they experience you can also boost your confidence. But ultimately, what you're dealing with is an issue of fear. And so you do still need to address the fear because the fear is like the boogeyman. The fear, until you confront it and until you address it, it's going to keep showing up and stopping you or slowing you down or getting in the way of you being able to do the thing that you know you're called to do. You know there's something pulling you to do it. You know you need to do it. And so it's time that you stop showing up feeling unqualified. Even if you think you're unqualified, again, it doesn't mean that you are. So I recommend that you see this as an opportunity to be stretched because God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. So we can see so many examples in scripture where, like Moses, for example, Moses did not feel qualified to go up to Pharaoh and, demand that the people be let go. He didn't feel qualified. But God didn't call him because he was qualified. God qualified him once he answered the call. So God will qualify you once you answer the call and you say yes. The fear that you might have, give that over to God. There are ways that we can confront fear. Sometimes it takes a lot for us to confront fear because we have spent our whole lives listening to people or listening to our own inner critic telling us what we are not and telling us how good we are not or how unqualified we are. And it's time now that we deal with our fears. And so I've been addressing fear each day. This is day 9, each day that we've been on, because fear is so real, and fear is what stops so many of us from being able to move forward in getting our businesses moving, getting them off the ground, really launching out there and doing something that maybe we've been afraid to do. If you are dealing with fear and you want to work through your fear, I do have something that I can give to you. I mean, today, it's free, there's no purchase required. Ultimately, um, if you've been with me on these lives, you know that I've talked about fear almost every day, because fear really is like the number one thing that stands in the way of people being able to follow their dreams, fulfill their dreams, and move forward. So I created something for you. It's called When Fear Knocks. It is a 10-day devotional for women, but men can also go through this same devotional if you'd like. It's pretty gender neutral. And I just put it on my website just this week for you, and there is no cost. So here's what makes it different. You don't just download it, you can actually do it right on the page. So you pull it up on your phone, you can actually go right through those every day for 10 days. Each day gives you a scripture, a truth about how fear operates. Then there are like journal entries and questions that you can respond to right there on your phone. And it's private to you. So nobody else has access to it. It saves all of your work and the progress that you've made. You can go back to it the next day, pick up where you left off. And then at the end, you can download it. So I can't see it. Nobody else can see it. It is private to just you. You will go from calling fear by its name, because it's important that we name our fears, because we can't really combat what we are not willing to confront. So it will take you 10 days where you can say yes to what it is that God has given you. And then you can download it. You can print it out if you prefer. You don't have to do it online. You can print it out right from the beginning. But I want you to go to my website. It's streaming across the bottom of the screen, unless you're on IG. On IG, it's tanyabreland.com/resources. Click free resources. If you just go on the website, tanyabreland.com, and click the free resources, you can start today. You can start with day one. You don't have to wait till next week or Monday or whatever. You can start. Fear does not have to be the final word. Your yes can be the final word. So I've come to the end of this time with you, and I want to thank you for spending maybe your dinner with me. I really don't take it lightly. If this evening's conversation resonated with you, I would love to hear from you. I would love for you to inbox me, send me a message, shoot me an email. I read every single one of them. You can go to my website, tanyabreland.com. You can email me directly, tanya@tanyabreland.com, and let's talk. Let's figure out what you need to do, not only to combat fear, not only to show up before you feel qualified, but whatever it is that you have that you want to pursue and to accomplish. I am I am available to help support you on your journey. Until tomorrow, where our topic will be, what is one thing that you will stop waiting for? What is the one thing that you're going to stop waiting for? And tomorrow, I'm hoping that we can have more of a community share. My plan is to meet at 12 noon. There is a chance I may have to make it a little bit later. If so, I will send an announcement so that you can do that. So continue to follow me. Again, please like and please follow me on social media. Until tomorrow, the world is waiting for your yes. I'll see you back here. Have a great rest of the evening. God bless you.